Well, US officials say Russia is at 70% of the level needed for a full Ukraine invasion. Joining us now, the political analyst and professor at Curtin University, Joe Siracusa. Joe, what makes you think that is right, that they are readying for an invasion or that it will become inevitable, even though those troops have been there for a long time now?
Well, there are 83 battalions there now. That's 23 more since Friday. 17 more are on the way, as well as troops from Siberia and the Far East. So, the circle is closing there. And I have to say this, that Biden has really lost this one. I mean, he was face to face with President Putin about what to do with Ukraine a couple months ago. And in the last couple of weeks, I think President Biden has blinked. I mean, Putin has called the American bluff, the NATO bluff. No one is going to fight over Ukraine. No one's going to fight for Ukraine. Everything is now designed after the fact. So Putin has his way. And let me tell you, Australians should have had a cold feeling down their backs when they saw President Putin sidling up to President Xi at the Beijing Olympics. They were doing more than, opening the games. They were conducting business. And I'm sure that President Putin and President Xi have organized what happens next in the Asia-Pacific area. Keep in mind, these are not natural allies. They share a 4,000-kilometer border. And during the Cold War, and that's over Stalin and Khrushchev and Brezhnev, they didn't like each other very much. And Australia should worry a little about this because Australia is an enhanced member of NATO. In fact, it's on the same short list for NATO membership. They wanted to get there, so now it's in their sights. But look, I think Putin has won this, whether he has to commit those troops in the next couple of days or not, and he probably will. And the reason for that is you can't keep 170,000 troops and Air Force in readiness without doing something with it. And the Ukrainians know that this is coming.
World leaders are stepping up efforts to reduce tensions over Ukraine as fears of a Russian invasion grow. Those fears have been there for a long time now. A series of meetings are being held between world leaders in a bid to ease tensions and prevent troops from moving in. The French President Emmanuel Macron has met with the Russian President Vladimir Putin in Moscow. He says he hopes to avoid a war and help resolve the crisis in Ukraine diplomatically. Macron will also fly to Ukraine for talks with the country's president later on today. Western allies say they're aiming to prevent an invasion and encourage a more diplomatic resolution. I mean, this all happened last week, but you had the new head of ISIS, and I guess a lot of people didn't even know who that was. He's out, but doesn't this just cut the head of the snake and then it grows back again? What's your take on it?
Well, yeah, you're right, Peter. Look, what we've learned, if there's nothing else about the Islamic State, is that this is an organisation built for loss. It is prepared to lose its leadership and replace it. So one of its signature features has been its capability to constantly regenerate as we, as you say, cut the heads off the snake. So in broad terms, this changes nothing. The Islamic State, by its own machinations, will choose its new leader who will then carry on as that leader sees fit. There's a huge tactical advantage to killing this guy. And that's the fact that, it confronts every ISIS member, every potential recruit, makes them think twice about what they're doing. But it also shows a number of things. One is that as much as the US is forced to focus on Ukraine and China, it clearly has not taken its eye off the counter-terrorism fight.
Global COVID cases have passed 400 million as the highly contagious Omicron variant dominates the outbreak. The new strain accounts for almost all new cases reported daily. That's according to a Reuters tally. Infections are declining in many countries, but around 2 million cases are still being registered each day. Deaths have increased by 70% in the last 5 weeks, based on the 7-day average. The pandemic has killed over 6 million people worldwide. The Prince of Wales is self-isolating after testing positive to COVID for a second time. He's been forced to postpone a visit to Winchester after receiving the result. In a statement, Clarence House said His Royal Highness is deeply disappointed not to be able to attend today's events and will look to reschedule as soon as possible. Prince Charles recently met his mother, Queen Elizabeth, but the 95-year-old is not showing any symptoms at this stage. He also contracted the virus in March 2020. That was more towards the beginning of the pandemic, and he only had mild symptoms then. Well, the Super Bowl is nearly here, and every year people look forward to that halftime entertainment show, and of course a whole bunch of advertisements. One of them features Arnie. Take a look.
Zeus! Sorry, Zeus! I need a charge of this. Oh! Thanks!
Sweetheart, it's not rocket science.
I'm heading out. Don't forget to take Peggy for a walk. Mwah!
Yo, Zeus! A little juice!
That's it. I'm done with this place.
We'll see about that.
Everything okay out there, baby?
Little Peggy, a little walk, huh?
I figure you could use a little pick-me-up.
Sky News can reveal detained Australian journalist Cheng Lei will be given a special reprieve to watch some of the Winter Olympics with her cellmates. The mother of two has been arbitrarily detained in Beijing for 18 months now. And our Washington correspondent Annalise Nielsen joins us live now with these exclusive details. Annalise, what more can you tell us?
Well, Pete, depressingly little after 18 months, but what we can tell you is that there is going to be special reprieve for Cheng Lei and her cellmates to watch the Beijing Winter Olympics, and that is, of course, part of that broader Chinese push of propaganda around the Beijing Winter Olympic Games. But what we can tell you as well is that we understand she is quite excited to see Australian snowboarder Scotty James. Now, she did interview the bronze medal winning snowboarder in 2019 for the Australian Chamber of Commerce, and that's where she met him. These are photos that are still available on her social media pages from that event. She did a lot of advocacy for the Australian government in China when relations were still good. Of course, now we're now in the midst of a diplomatic freeze, which has seen her case drag out. She was charged 18 months ago with a pretty vague charge of releasing state secrets. There's still been no details about the allegations against her, no details of the legal process, which seems to be perpetually delayed, and there's still no communication allowed between her and her two children in Melbourne. And that's been going for about 2 years now. And so this is where the concern is coming from many of her supporters, myself included, after I organised that letter of support from journalists across the world. We were hoping for some movement around the Olympics, but unfortunately, this is the only concession it seems that she's been given.